Hi, my name is Helena Green. I'm a Master Practitioner in Clinical Counselling, specializing in anxiety and the subconscious. I've created this video as a companion to a book that happens to be a bestseller, and this is what it looks like. It's on my website, and it's called Anxiety Therapy at Home, Dancing with Your Shadow. This is to help explain Clinical Meridian Tapping. So just to give you a little overview of what Clinical Meridian Tapping entails, it's an opportunity for you to connect with disconnects, energy signatures in your body that are associated with unfinished business, I call it, or trauma. And the way that you are able to connect to that part of yourself is you actually tap on the chi points that are closest to the surface of the skin. So before you begin tapping, you want to identify 4 different things. One is it's important to identify a specific event or memory, not all the times that you have, for example, anxiety about public speaking, but that one time that when you think about it, you actually feel something in your body. So that's number 1, is a specific event. Secondly, you want to identify what is the emotion when you think about that event. So it could be anxiety, it could be guilt, shame, sadness, fear, or just plain shock. Any emotion that is specific to that event, and you want to pick one emotion at a time, which I'll explain in a moment. One emotion, then you want to identify what are all the places in the body that you feel that emotion. It could be, if we're using the example, anxiety about public speaking, when you think about that last week, where it just didn't go well, you had all these witnesses, and you think about it and you feel tension in your shoulders, maybe heaviness in your chest, maybe you feel heat, maybe you feel like you want to cry. Those are all different things for your body that would be specific to that event. That's the third thing. The fourth thing is to identify what is your level of stress from 1 to 10. 10 being really high and 1 being you have the memory but you don't feel anything in your body. That's to get you started. Next, you want to identify where you're going to tap, and they're called tapping points. Those are those chi meridian points that are closest to the surface of the skin. So we start with the setup phrase, which is you tap on your karate chop point, and the next point, just either hand will work, and otherwise you're tapping on next. There is a ridge of bone around your eyes where you're tapping first on the beginning of your eyebrow. Next is on the outside corner of your eye on that ridge, under the eye. This is with 2 fingers. And then under the nose with 2 fingers, chin point. Collarbone is a soft fleshy part underneath your clavicle. The next point is underneath your arm, either side. And then the last point is the top of your head. You will be tapping on all of those points once, and that will be called a round. So in the case of the anxiety about public speaking, it would look like this. Even though I have this, what's the emotion? Anxiety. Then the places in the body. This tension in my shoulders. This nausea in my stomach. I could just cry. Those are all the points in the body, one emotion, and then followed by, I deeply and completely know that I'm okay. Then we go to the tapping points in the body, or the sequence. So we go between the emotion and the place in the body. So in this case, it would be anxiety, tension in my shoulders. Anxiety, I could just cry. Anxiety, tension in my shoulders. I could just cry, and leave it on the emotion, this anxiety. And then just stop and check into your body and see what that intensity level is at. Once you tap through those points, you will often find that your level of intensity will either go up or it will go down, or sometimes it will stay the same. If you have something that is particularly distressing that has raised your intensity level of distress, then that's okay, because it's evidence for you that you have actually had an effect and you're moving it through your body. You're bringing it up to the surface to be released. If it's down, then you're releasing that charge with that energy, that disconnect. If it's the same, then chances are there's something about the phrase that you can be focusing on that is particularly triggering, or you're just really stuck. Just do that whole round again until your intensity level is down to something like 3, 2, 3, or 4, and that's a round that you've moved that energy, that disconnect from that particular emotion. Now, you might find that you have other emotions that come up as well. Same event, same memory, but you've got, maybe in addition to anxiety, you've got some sadness about it. But that's still the same event, and you basically repeat the whole thing again until you have worked with all of the emotions and your intensity is down to something like 3. So at that point, you have moved through a lot of work already, but you want to connect with that part of you, no matter how old he or she or they are, and you want to give yourself a hug with right hand underneath, left hand on top. You invite you to close your eyes and really go back to that part of you who was in such distress before you start to tap, and try to connect with the essence of that person. At this point, it's your job to be connected to that part of you, to be present, to see and hear that part of you who didn't get what they needed. So in that moment where you are connected with your eyes closed in the hug, you have a sense of the being present with that part. Just hold the space for that part and let them feel the emotion, the anxiety, all the places in the body, just to be a witness to that disconnect. So in that moment of deep connection, you can bring your present, grounded, adult self to that younger part and ask that part, what do you need from me right now? What are you feeling? Just entering the space with curiosity, and particularly with compassion. Curiosity, compassion, acceptance. And let that part feel that love and compassion in their present state. And when you feel that part react, the physical response, ask that part if they will let you take them by the hand and bring them into the present with you and tuck them into your heart where they are safe, supported, and lovingly accepted with nothing but compassion. Let that feeling radiate through your heart. It could be a light, it could be a temperature, but feel the strength of that flow through from your heart into your torso, all through your legs, down to the tips of your toes, down your arms to the tips of your fingers, up your neck to the top of your head. Almost cocoon that bond, the strength and truth of that presence. Feel the strength of that. Feel the completeness of that and resonate with it for as long as you want. Give yourself the time and space to just enjoy that completeness. And when you're ready, you open your eyes. Now, if this process, this algorithm, this approach takes you to another memory, that is very likely, and it's another round. It would be a whole other session in tapping, because that is the nature of the subconscious. For now, you've done good work. Treat yourself with TLC for the rest of the day. Drink lots of water. And use tapping for anything from pain management. You can use it with performance, any kind of performance, with practice. Practice on something that isn't particularly triggering. Use it with the book, and Clinical Meridian Tapping can help you process all sorts of things that you feel stuck in. For continuing your work with the workbook, that's Anxiety Therapy at Home, Dancing with Your Shadow. Feel free to visit the website. It's available there as well. And I look forward to hearing from you. Happy tapping.